Well, I'm here with Andy Armstrong, Danielle Bergio, director, writers, and producers of Squealer. I guess I want to start off with you guys have an extensive stunt background. And there's
Hmm.
you got like the Hal Needham, David Ellis, Chad Stahelski, Jesse B. Johnson. Like these are stunt people turning to directors, and they're usually really good. Actually, I'm trying to think of a bad one. I can't. And you guys are no different. Like what is it about working in stunts that you think make people really good filmmakers?
I think I think stunts within any film is a sort of is a story within itself, and you have to, for stunts to work, you have to be able to, tell the story of someone being a victim or someone being the aggressor or whatever. So I think it's in a way it sort of is a quite a good grooming process for filmmaking. Jesse, who you mentioned, actually is my nephew, Jesse
Oh,
Johnson.
all right. Well, I'm amongst a family of royalty. This is
Yeah,
nice.
huge family we are of all stunt people.
And also another thing that kind of stands out with Squealer is usually like stunt people when they make a movie, it's usually action oriented, and there's some action in this, but this is mostly what I might call a horror thriller.
Yeah.
That's not usually the route stunt people go to. What kind of what attracted you to this story and kind of got the ball rolling on this one?
I think Danielle, do you want to answer that? It's
So Andy and I actually worked together many, many years ago in the stunt world, and very quickly connected on the fact that we both were really more interested in uh, writing and producing, and in his case, directing. And it was something that we wanted to join forces on for a long time, but our schedules were all over the place, and it was years before stars aligned. And when they finally did, we said, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to make a movie together. And Andy said, what should we do? And I said, remember that story you told me many years ago about that pig farmer turned serial killer? It had stuck with me all these years. And so it was kind of a no brainer. That was definitely the way we wanted to start off, and the first story we wanted to do together. And so Andy had written many scripts and was a beautiful mentor and support system for me. And we found pretty quickly early on that we complement each other quite well in the process. I particularly love working with somebody. I had written some smaller things, but not a feature, and so having a writing partner for me is amazing, and especially Andy, because he just taught me so much, but he also supported me. And what he does so well is he's so creative and comes up with all kinds of fantastic ideas. So we found that he would be the one to sort of get it started, and then I would be the one to kind of bring the structure to it. And that's how we kind of like ping ponged back and forth. And now we've been writing together, I think, for 5 years. We have a few projects together, but this is our first out. So it's been an awesome project
Yeah.
together.
Could you go a little bit deeper into the writing process between the two of you? Like, does one of you take the keyboard and it's like, all right, I'm stuck here. You take it. Okay, let me get the scene. Or like, how exactly is the workflow with that go?
we
When
literally sit at the table together and sort of bounce ideas, and it's a very, very productive process. We find we end up writing quite fast, and I think it's purely the fact that we bring different qualities to the table, and it's I have loads of ideas, but often 80% of them might be utterly insane. But
Those are the good ones, though.
well,
real
they're all
way of pulling it
in
down.
truth, they're all great and they're all brilliant. Some of them fit and some of them don't. So the first thing that we did was we went old school style, and we did the index cards, and we had laid them out all over his dining table. And then once we got to writing, we would sometimes we would write the scene together. Sometimes he would take a stab at it, and then I would take the next pass, and we'd go back and forth. We didn't really have any like hard rules about the way we did it. I think we just kept kicking each other forward. Sometimes I find as a writer, like I get really stuck. So having a partner is just like whatever we have to do to keep just like pushing each other forward.
Yeah. And you mentioned it was based on the serial killer, I think Robert Pickton.
Yeah.
You have movies like Zodiac, which is based on Zodiac Killer, but then you have movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is sort of based on Ed Gein. Like what went into the decision-making process of we're going to base this on a serial killer, but it's not really going to be about that. It's going to
we're closer to the sort of Texas Chainsaw direction in that it's sort of inspired by a real story, but we were very conscious of not wanting to offend some of the real victims' families, because it, unlike most sort of serial killers that get made into stories, this one's quite recent. So the families of his victims are still very much alive and in existence. So we were very conscious of sort of being as respectful as we could to the victims' families, and that's really it. We didn't want to sort of sensationalize something horrible that happened, really, specifically.
While still finding a balance on picking up on so many of the really juicy story points that are part of the true story. So I think a lot of not all of, but I'd say a good percentage of the Squealer backstory and storyline was inspired by the truth. And then the other storyline that weaves into that is the story of Lisa, the social worker. And obviously that's all completely fictionalized. So the way that they just kind of blend together.
Yeah, I guess there's a bit of separation too, though. Like if it's just kind of mostly fiction, you can get a little exploitative without it feeling gross. Whereas if it's real life, it's like, no.
Yeah.
That's we want to be very, very mindful. Like Andy said, it's this individual is still in prison, and a lot of the families and people that were involved in this story are still alive. So we didn't want to tread on any of that. That would be disrespectful.
Yeah. Also, not to belabor the stunts, but I rarely get a chance to talk to stunt people, and I love you guys. But so I'm looking at your IMDb. Like Danielle, you've done stunts on 1 Hour Photo. Andy, you've done stunts on The Firm, and these are like, you think stunts, you think like big action movies. Mm-hmm. You don't think The Firm. You don't think 1 Hour Photo. Like what? Can you kind of talk to me about like what stunts you did for those, and some more kind of stunt work that isn't as flashy and you wouldn't think of as stunt work?
Yeah, I mean, that's really, that type of stunt work has really been my sort of forte. I wanted to, I really dislike movies that have tons and tons of stunt work just sort of thrown at them because you can do it. I think it's a lot of movies that I've come on to do the action, and I've often taken action away, because I think there's a lot of movies right now that suffer a little bit from wall-to-wall action from the start to the end, and if you're not careful, you lose the ability to really highlight, one particular piece of action or whatever. So for me, every bit of action I've done, I've tried to build around whatever that character would do in real life. In the Firm, I tried to build a lot of things that Tom Cruise could do himself, so that I didn't want any of the action there to feel forced or to feel overly spectacular. It sort of drives me mad when you have the sort of classic B movie where there's a woman that's a housewife, and then within 2 scenes she can hit someone at 1,000 yards with an Uzi, and throw knives and do martial arts and things. It sort of drives me crazy, that sort of thing, because it's just so far away from reality. I love to build in the flaws and the things that people have that shape their character. The Tom Cruise character, that character in the book was written as a much bigger man, so we created that whole end sequence so that it could be something that a smaller guy like Tom could do. And I think that's really where that's been my profession really over the last 30 something years, is is creating action that's believable for that character. And I like to do as much of it as I can with the real actor and not with stunt people. Just use the stunt people for victims in a fight or whatever, but just try and create action around a character. And so in this film, we really wanted to sort of not make it overly action driven, because it isn't. It's a sort of it's the threat and the danger that's there. Really, I didn't want to have anything that was sort of that looked like a stunt.
Yeah. Also, yeah. I guess we also have a what's in the box segment. In the box, we have people put in movies that they think are underseen or they wish more people would watch. What's a movie that each of you would like to put in the box?
Older movies, probably Bad Day at Black Rock, wonderful movie. A movie called Charlie Varick, which was directed by Don Siegel. And actually, Charlie Varick was a movie shot in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And there was that movie, and there was The Getaway, which was a Sam Peckinpah, Steve McQueen movie, also shot in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And that was the basis of us wanting to go there, because I'd seen those movies years and years ago, and I loved the place. But I think there's a lot of those great movies from the 70s that were that haven't been seen, that were sort of B movies in their day, but they're wonderful when you look back at them now.
Yeah. And Danielle?
Well, since we're in the horror genre world, the first horror film that really stood out to me and got me was a much older movie with Charlie Sheen and Jimmy Smits called The Believers. And I think that might be something I don't know how it's going to hold up today, because it is from the 80s and it might not hold up at all. But I can tell you, when I saw that movie back then, it really did a number on me.
All right. Well, we'll find out one way or another. Okay. But Andy, Danielle, thank you for joining me. And Squealer comes out this Friday, November 3rd. And I would recommend everyone check it out. So good luck with that.